Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show.
All right, well, welcoming John Mark back to the show, here to do his most pop culture-ish routine. So, thank you all. We've already covered our favorite songs of the 70s that just summed up that era, and now we got another decade. It's none other than the 80s, of course. So,
Of course.
back to the show. Welcome back.
Always good to be here.
Perfect. I will let you start the show with your pick, because you got some deep music cut trivia.
Well, I think I'll start with the one that, from an artist I've always found to be very underrated, and as I said before, has gotten shafted by the music industry.
I bet. There's many of these guys.
And it's an artist named Billy Squire, who I'm sure some people will mention, well, be familiar with some of his music, like Everybody Wants You and In the Dark, or My Kind of Lover. That's the three you might know the most. And The Stroke. You probably know that one the most.
I'm sure.
But the song I've always preferred is actually his deep cuts, as we mentioned, from his first album, Don't Say No.
Okay.
The one I usually go back to is What Do You Want From Me, which is
Neat.
more like a hard rock song. He likes to balance it out every time, each album, and that's one that you can definitely run to every time, and it
It
gets your
just-
adrenaline pumping. That's what I love the most.
It just got very exciting. It's a workout jam.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, so I'm going to pick a bunch of these that I feel encompass the whole decade, but stand out just because someone really was just going to town, just absolutely just wanted a mixture of anything. It could be a workout jam, it could be a party jam, it could be whatever you wanted it to be, it works. And so I'm going with Shake It Up by the Cars. They're already proficient
yes.
throughout the 70s, but that one doesn't get enough play, in my opinion, and I just personally dig how it just really illustrates that, they can be hip and yet very prompt in their presentation.
Oh yeah. It's actually a shame we forgot to mention them in the 70s. We could have mentioned the whole album they had.
I
First
could
one.
have, and I just, for whatever reason, I just felt like, oh, it's gonna. Then I got nothing else to offer, So I just wanted to go into some other less talked about material.
True.
Alrighty, you are next.
I'll mention that. Still with the word there. There's one band that I'd say, for the most part in the 80s, they were very good. They did get a little too mainstream for my taste. But
Mainstream.
even then, they still were talented, and that's one that was Def Leppard. But the song that I've always browsed it-
Phonograph. Just kidding.
I do like that song now. Um, but the one I've always like I like to do deep cuts. So the one I go to is "Let It Go," which is another hard rock anthem that I always like to go to.
I'm sure it's on my playlist somewhere. I have a bunch, but
Oh yeah,
they're one of those bands I can't often tell one of the songs apart just because they got a similar feel, but I know which ones I like and don't like, if that makes sense.
with their early stuff, you can at least tell certain songs apart. Nowadays, not so much with them, but that's the sad part.
Yeah, that is what it is. Okay, very cool. Okay, I'm gonna go up with Kyrie by Mr. Mister.
Ah, yes.
On the road I must travel.
Right, that's just a fun song
There's
to
a
listen
lot to be said, yeah, for, I mean, just even summing up just the whole, it's just it does definitely make you want to actually get on a motorcycle and just travel around.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Sure.
Well, I think I'd go with a ballad this time because this is one that I actually think is probably usually sometimes I don't always get emotional during certain songs, but this is one of the very few that makes me get that, and that's "Never Tear Us Apart" by NXS.
Okay, nice.
And
Yeah, that they had so many other songs that I didn't even know that was like them. You know, they had
oh yeah,
Everybody Wants You, all that. Yeah, it's just
well that wasn't them, that was Billy
oh
Squire.
shit. Oh, there you go. There you go. Mixing them up with the other suggestions.
And but they were like a very diverse band. That's what I've always liked about them. Like they could be classified as rock or pop or
Whichever,
they,
yeah, you want them
yeah.
to be. Very good pick. Okay, well, I will go with Africa by Toto. I'm sure this is too
Of
obvious,
course.
but I mean, don't get me wrong, Weezer did a damn good cover of it, but still, I mean, even though it is overplayed, I mean, just the beginning acoustics is like, yeah, the percussion just really gets you in the mood.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that's just it. I mean, how something starts off does say a lot, whether it's them sampling a line of dialogue from a movie that's being used or what have you. It doesn't take much to break something for me.
And that's why it's always one I usually go back to every now and then. Like a
Yeah,
chance.
definitely so.
Well, I figured as I continued to rock, 'cause that's usually what I listen to the most, but
Rock, pop,
this is
electronic. Yeah.
well, yeah, most of those. But this is one artist that I think is one of the very few that transitioned from being in the band to eventually being a solo artist, which is Ozzy. Of course,
Okay.
I'm gonna bring up Ozzy here because I have to, particularly with his first two albums, but one album in particular and one certain song I've always loved listening to, especially now, which is "Over the Mountain" from Diary of a Madman, the second album he did.
Okay.
And not only from the playing from Randy Rhoads, may he rest in peace, and because one of the times when Ozzy actually could carry a tune, unlike nowadays, and you could actually know what he was saying in the songs, because yeah, don't want to get too much into that, but this this was classic Ozzy. That's what I've always said.
I mean, it really is, because I mean, you also got just he never just stalls, you know, much like Slash. He's just really
Oh
just
yeah,
impressive with how he goes about and just keeping that set going.
And of course, we mentioned one that I will talk about later, but well, we'll get to that. And that's all I say. All I have to say about that one.
Okay, very neat. And I mean, it is kind of a shame that earlier he was I saw that he was just feeling pretty ill and he wanted to go to Germany for like some procedure and he couldn't do it due to COVID restrictions. So.
Yeah, now that he's not exactly doing too well, which is unfortunate. I hope he can hang in there, at least.
Yeah.
We've already lost so many. That's the sad part.
For sure. So another one to keep the mojo going. Feel free to tease me. She Wants to Dance with Me by Rick Ashley.
I've never actually heard that song.
That is a fun song, and I mean, Rick is just a fun pop artist because you just instantly get his passion.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm actually one of the few people who does not hate Never Gonna Give You Up. I mean, yes, it's corny, but
And overplayed.
I can actually,
Yeah.
I can deal with it. I mean, I can listen to that more than a lot of stuff nowadays, but that's just me.
Yeah, give me 80s pop any day over today's pop, please.
At least it was produced well, like now.
The director of Con Air directed the video.
Exactly.
Rick just has no shame. He's like, hey, you listen to it, your girlfriend listened to it, and you're here at the concert. I'm gonna play my guitar.
And that's true.
Oh yeah. Alrighty, what you got for me?
Well, I figured another obvious one I'll go. This is another one. I always say I grew up with it, but I did. And this is somebody that I know a lot of people like make fun of him. I'm not one of those people. I've always had respect for this musician, even if sometimes his songs can be corny. And that's Phil Collins. And of course, what I'm going with is
feel
right.
Yes. He's got many hits, even when he was with Genesis, and I think now he's just a target of people who like to just mock him because, I don't know, I guess he was difficult or got ill, and then, I don't know, I think there's some jealousy in the air for whatever reason, people who weren't always crazy about him, but see, he is good with lyrics and everything.
Oh yeah. And it clearly shows in the air tonight, where with just the atmosphere with that, and then once the drums kick in, that's when that was just powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And very different than what he did in Genesis, I'd say.
For
Of
sure.
course, people won't point that out. But just say he's just a pop artist. I'm like, yeah, but he can do different genres.
He's a rock star. He can do soul music. He can do all kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, I think more or less, even when songs like Studio, get overplayed, and I mean, even if you are talking about earlier Genesis that he happens to be doing the vocals and drums for, I mean,
oh yeah,
you definitely always got his voice always came across pretty well.
Although I will say, I'll just say this up front. I do prefer Genesis with him over Peter Gabriel. I know that's, for some of those fans, that's blasphemy, but just my opinion, folks.
I mean, Gabriel already by himself didn't even need Genesis. That's the thing. Everyone's
true.
acting like, oh, but he made the band. I'm like, no, the band was
No.
made overnight, and those two just happened to have proficient solo careers afterwards. And it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, Genesis. I guess you could. This is kind of even with the. It seems like people just want to argue over any kind of age of it. It's the same thing with Van Halen or Doobie Brothers. Everyone has their favorite age.
Oh, yeah.
They treat it like a season of a show. It got bad by this point, and it's like, well, I became a fan by that point, So
That's true.
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, well, it's gonna be tough to outdo. I'm gonna go with "Color of the Blue Sky" by U2, and just when I heard the song even used in a few war movie trailers in the 2000s, is like when it was already protesting Vietnam originally. It's like you get all the chaos and just violent reaction to the political landscape that's changing throughout the 80s from Bono and company, and it's just just when he's just shouting out the numbers of the troops, 100, 200, is like, man, this is a very intense, angry song, and it's just I'm hearing the chaos erupt on screen. It's a great song from their album The Joshua Tree. So,
Which, I mean, had so many good songs to begin with.
yeah, the album is definitely platinum gold for a reason. It's just very intense U2, and it doesn't get as played as it should. Instead they're too busy playing just other, Sunday, Bloody Sunday. I'm like, no, play some later U2, and
No, I'd rather have With or Without You, because that's much better than Sunday Bloody Sunday.
there you go.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and then when you get to the 2000s, there were some other good gems they did, and everyone, even in the 90s, they had some good ones, but everyone just wants to replay Beautiful Day. I'm like, I love that song, but I don't want it to hear it every day,
Yeah, that's the
some
problem.
variety.
Well, that Elevation are the two that I always hear the most on that album.
Oh, hell, Elevation was a great single, and you probably know that
Oh,
from
yeah.
Tomb Raider soundtrack, but yeah.
That's how I knew about it, actually, because the video.
I knew about it because it was on my father and brother's playlist, and they played it at every other Super Bowl, and award show that year and the following year. So I was just like, yeah. My sister hated that song because she just overheard it so much, and I was like, hey, it's a jam. So for a pretty vast band, I mean, this song really does kind of show how pivotal they become for British 70s rock and just for the following eras. I mean, they never stopped being relevant, in my opinion, and this song, I think, is just a good way to just get you in the mood, remind you that you two can actually be a little powerful at times. So, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Next up, you got for us.
I figure I go with a local band and this is a good story to tell, because this is a band I thought was famous around the world, because here they played those songs a lot, when I was a kid. So I assumed that meant they were famous everywhere else, and it turns out they weren't at all. They only had like one hit, and that's Who's Behind the Door by Zebra, but that's not the song I'm picking. And
Zebra, baby.
I know that's one band that people like to complain about because, the singer sounds like Geddy Lee next to Robert Plant. I'm like, okay, but the thing is, he still manages to make it unique, folks. I hate to break it to you.
Zebra had some fun ones, especially all the Zebra 4 album, in my opinion. Yeah, 3.5.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's like.
But the one I always go to was, Tell Me What You Want, of course. That's the one I've heard the most, but I've always loved hearing that.
That's a fun jam.
And that drummer is just amazing live. When I finally got to see him, it was like a year before. It was late 2019 before COVID hit. And
I went at it.
That was so much fun to finally see him live. Because I almost got a chance when I was a kid, but at the time I was not big on them. And I kicked myself every day for that, but that's a different story.
it doesn't help that we don't really know where to turn our attention to, and
Oh, I know.
you hear all these songs playing, and unless you had some historical background, you don't see the extra merit in them.
Oh yeah. But they've always been one that I wish would have gotten bigger than they were. I'm just saying.
Something. Oh, so I got another one, folks. Another great band that is often mocked and made fun of, but for their name, but that's okay. They're not real fans. It's No One Like You by the Scorpions.
Oh yes.
They always had a way of just kind of musing what's on their mind instead of just risking sounding too whiny. And I think this song is definitely their most visceral, if you will.
Oh, definitely.
I don't have anything else to add.
I mean,
Listen to it.
I'll just add that it's weird because I didn't even know they were like from the 70s. I didn't find out later on.
Yeah, took a while, I think, being from Germany and all, to just catch fire here in the U.S.
And I know the one song my brother always loves to play, and I have no problem with that because I love the song too. Is Wind of Change.
Yes.
I know he always plays that every time, but I have no problems because that's one of the few times that if you overplay a song, I won't mind.
Take me to the magic of the moment. Oh.
That's a great pick there.
Yeah, that's another one good song. There's so many good songs, but yeah, this one, whatever emotional resonance you establish in the room, I give you points. Alrighty, you got something harder for us.
Alright, well, this was the one choice I had to make.
From
It's
yesterday.
not exactly a hard song, but it's one that, because this is from Journey, just to point out. Yes, I am a fan of Journey, folks.
We
been a
don't
fan.
stop believing in Journey.
And it's not that song, even though I love it, but that is overplayed to death. But actually from that same album, which is called Mother Father,
Oh.
and yes, a deep track. Guess what? I can listen to those too. No, that's one that really showcases Steve Perry's voice the most, and
Nice.
I'm just captivated each time I hear it. In particular, if you ever watched the live concert in Houston from that same year, it's like, my God. I mean, he really was one of the best voices of the 80s, if you ask me. And that song
Yeah.
really showed his ability.
I'd say so, yeah.
And that's why it's on my list. So,
Good pick. For sure. Okay, well, I got one Deaf Forever by Motorhead. It doesn't matter what volume you turn this jam up to, you will just fucking melt.
that's the truth.
Hell. We don't typically play songs on this damn show, but I'll cheat a bit. So while I'm loading, you want to say a little bit on Motorhead?
Well, it's strange. I usually have heard some of those songs. That's actually one I've never heard before.
Oh, I
This
think you
should be
have.
interesting. If I have, I probably forgot. It's been a while to listen to them.
This one you'll know if you've heard it or not, so I'll start it up in just a bit.
Oh, yeah.
But the best part about it is that it just really just instantly ignites, and it just makes you go, wow, okay, yeah, Motorhead, they own it. There's a reason they are the best guitarists of all time.
Sounds familiar. Oh yeah, I have heard that. Yep.
Alrighty, one hell of a
Oh, yeah.
song. It just-
It really is.
it's
I
like,
forgot about that one.
That's a game day warm up song.
Of course.
It helped that I was even re-listening to it while going on my way to like a local racetrack. And no,
Well, that makes
at the
sense.
gas station. I mean, seeing some actual people who around the county race their cars, and I'm like, jeez, yeah, this is game time. Oh, well,
Well,
how can you one up that one?
I figured I'd go with another obscure band from the 80s that never really got their due, and it's kind of a shame. It's also a trio like Zebra, and that's one band called Y&T that I had heard about because of a certain radio host, Eddie Trunk, had always talked about them, and I finally got a chance to listen to them a few years ago, and wow, was I impressed, particularly with the musicianship and with
Nice.
each song. I know some might think it sounds the same, but they actually managed to be diversify the material. But the song that I always go back to, which has probably one of the most badass album covers I've seen, is Mean Streak. That's one that a lot of their fans would know, but that's just hard rocking, just pedal to the metal, just a fun party song to play.
Oh yeah.
People. And when you see the album cover, you'll see what I'm talking about, which is just a giant ass
Please
snake.
forward it
And
to me.
I will, because I remember seeing that. I was like, wait, what?
Giant
I love this band
ass.
already. Just saying. And I mean, that's just check that out, folks. Y&T Mean Streak. You won't regret it if you're a rock fan. Just saying.
Oh man. Giant ass snakes. I can't
That's what I love
one
the
up
most.
that. I can't one up that one, but I have heard a bunch of their discography and had to pick a Hall & Oates song. Most would probably pick
Ah.
something incredible like Private Eyes, but no, I gotta go with I Can't Go For That. No can do.
Oh, yes.
That song just has a wonderful beat, and I just love how he's just kind of on the offense the whole track. It's like no can do. No. I mean, great duo, and always great hearing their various other interviews, and again, what Hall's doing now, just doing interviews with other music artists.
Which is always fun to see. Different artists from different genres.
Right, seeing who can play each other's songs. Saw it with Sammy Hagar where he would tour. They closed that show down due to COVID, and don't get me wrong, got plenty of neat songs with him and Van Halen. Some of them haven't aged too well for me, but I can understand why.
No.
I mean, he's a damn good guitar player.
But that happens with some songs. Although,
Some of them you got to be with a crowd to really get the vibe, the general vibe that the guitarist set out to do. And it's like, yeah, okay, I'll do this. I'm not gonna put it on my playlist, but it's still a fun song.
but that happens. I mean, that's happened with Kiss with me, maybe.
Oh yeah. Kiss. Alrighty,
And
next one up.
let's see.
I got one more
Let you-
pick, and I'll let you go next.
Let me think. Well, I might as well. When we said Van Halen, so I might as well go for it at this point. Because I actually am a fan of the Hagar. I never really got the whole, oh, who's better, Roth or Hagar? I'm like, I can eat both
Yeah,
equally, folks.
I grew up with all eras, so yeah. And wasn't there a third one that
Yeah,
came in?
Gary Sharon, Extreme.
There you go, and he's the one no one talks about really. So it's like, yeah, well,
Besides one song that was in Lethal Weapon 4, but that's the only song that's worth anything on the album. But that's a different story. Anyway, it's weird. Like, I know most people would try to go for like the mainstream ones, like Dreams or Why Can't This Be Love. But as always with me, I like to go the deep tracks,
Woo.
and the one that I go is Best of Both Worlds,
Mm.
Van Halen. And no, it's not the Hannah Montana song. Get that out of there. No, I've had people confuse that with the Hannah Montana one. I'm like, no, hell
Damn,
no.
millennials and hipsters ruining our decade, man.
It's like, no, this is the good one, not that. And I've had to say that a few times. But anyway,
Sorry.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But no, just with, the riff by Eddie Van Halen, who, just like Randy Rhoads, may rest in peace. That was
Right?
an incredibly sad day.
It was a
heard
shitty
that.
day. It was a shitty
And,
day.
well, yeah. And that's just always one that I usually go back to, and it's the second song on the album.
What's funny is I was even telling some of the geezers in my family about his messed up recording studio and threatening to kill a few people if they didn't get out. And I was like, "You didn't know that?" I'm like, "Damn, Eddie, he's a trip."
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. So kind of went into the electronic new wave. So who other
Oh,
than
yeah.
Blue Monday by New Order? For those who are like, I don't know who New Order is, like, oh, you've heard plenty of New Order songs.
You've heard that song, especially, folks.
If you've
Trust
even
me.
seen the movie Blade, they were responsible for that techno rave music at the beginning. So it's like, yeah, I was always familiar with New Order in some capacity. And yeah, this song instantly is it's a disco rave, and it's just a very fast pace. It's pop savvy.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, for sure. And then seeing some other hard rock bands and metal bands that I haven't heard them do anything since that would cover it. I think
That's
Orgy was
true.
the name of the band, and they basically
Yep.
did a heavy metal version of. Oh,
Which I actually heard that first before I heard the original. So
Oh, really?
that's
Damn.
interesting. I don't mind that version. Just
At first, I thought it was a remix or something. It's like, no, it's a different band doing a cover.
And sometimes when they try to do covers, it just backfires horribly. But that one, I was like, well,
It was
at
fair.
least they're trying to be creative.
Yeah, I mean, they
Their
were
arrangements.
doing as good as they could when they definitely. I mean, it came across at least that they loved the song. As
Oh,
opposed
yeah.
to,
Just completely
whatever.
change it up and
It wasn't like, it was just on the list of songs to remake because the company owns access to that song.
yeah. That was just ugh.
It was in a
I know
radio
those-
Disney star.
I know some of those songs already quite popped in my head, but that's a different story.
Oh dear. So I guess
Um,
we'll go with some honorable mentions, I guess. I thought I'd go through the list real fast. I mean, I got Wake Me Up on Judgment Day by Steve Winwood. I got Love Song by The Cure.
of course.
Cult of
I could do-
Personality. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can go ahead with that one.
Oh, yeah, Cult of Personality by Living Color.
I was gonna mention that one too.
Shout by Tears for Fears.
I was do She's So Sensual by the Cult.
Oh, there you go.
Always.
Cult's good. I Can't Dance by Genesis, so there you go. I was looking for my list again, like, I do have a Genesis Phil Collins song on here. Let Them Play by Shannon.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
And that's another one I would hear people say, I've not heard that. I'm like, oh, you've heard that.
You've heard that, trust me.
It doesn't have to be an all-black club where you hear that. You've heard it.
No.
Especially in the morning hours, you're going to hear that one. Guaranteed. Urgent by Foreigner.
Oh, I should have mentioned for one though, because especially that album.
That's another one. Too many good ones to pick. The Promise.
I also say,
Go ahead.
was it Down Under by Men at Work? I know that's overplayed, but
Yeah,
I always.
Men at Work has a lot of great sleepers on, especially that they fortunately have remastered. And it's like, yeah, I mean, Men at Work is, but that is always a good one that you can definitely have on at a bar.
I mean, I could mention quite a few of those. I mean, Who Can It Be Now, Overkill, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Highwire, It's a Mistake. I named all of them pretty much.
It's a mistake. So definitely the sleeper of that pick because it's a relatable kind of song.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. And I also mentioned one that I kind of slept on for years, to be honest.
Somebody's Watching Me by
And-
Rockwell. No?
No, but I do like that one, surprisingly. People had thought that was actually him singing that, but it's not.
Yeah, they thought it was Michael
Like-
Jackson.
Well, I think it was Michael Jackson.
Oh, it
actually
did
singing.
have Michael Jackson. Okay.
Yeah,
I always
they
thought
thought it
it
was
was
actually Rockwell singing that. Like, no, it's not. You can tell it's Michael Jackson. But and this is a band. I know I always make fun of some of those songs, but the Bangles
So I guess Jermaine was
had
the
one.
one that was in the music video then.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the one song I kind of slept on was Hazy Shade of Winter from them, and that's one of the ones I usually play from them at times, not all the time,
Wow.
but because like Wild Like Egyptian, no thank you. I was never big on that.
Oh.
I tried, man. Trust me.
Walk like an Egyptian.
It doesn't help that they overplay that a lot.
They
So that's why I was like, I can't anymore.
do.
But I can mention that one. Also, I can say Doggin Into the Fire was another one.
Oh, by
I can,
Duran Duran?
no, from Doggin Into the Fire. That's one band,
Oh,
actually. That's the same band that did Dream Warriors for Elm Street 3.
Ooh, okay.
That's the same band.
Into
And
the Fire. Okay.
that's actually how I heard about them, is because of that song. And I mean, I can mention them. I mean, we could also mention ZZ Top, the songs there. Give Me All Your Lovin'. Of course, I'll mention that one. But no. I mean, you can mention half that album right there at this point.
Sure.
And I'm trying to think there's more. Oh, I was going to say Guns N' Roses, I should point out.
Yes.
I mean, but I got to say Paradise City because that's my favorite one of all of them by far.
It's a good one.
And
I can get over who sang it and Axl Rose being a dick just because it's just a good song.
well, yeah, I mean, that's how he. I mean, he's calmed down a bit now. I'll give him credit, but still doesn't really change who he was back then.
No.
But and that was always one that we always like to play almost every 2 months or so. But nope, we're gonna end with that one. Any party we're at, we used to go to. There was, and I can mention a bunch of those from that. I mean, we know Welcome to the Jungle, but that's overplayed to death.
Yes.
It's like, I like the song, folks, but for God's sake, they have other songs, guys.
No, we can't be original.
It's like, I can send you them. It's not that hard. Ever heard Night Train? How about you play that? Oh, no, you can't. Like, some people don't realize what it's actually about. Who cares?
Right.
Just saying. But nope. Like, oh no, you don't know what that means. I do. I read about that, stupid. But
How about When in Rome? The Promise.
you know what? My brother actually, he's a huge fan of that song. He's the one
Well.
that got me into that one.
Perfect example of one hit wonder, but there's some other, at least 3 other songs I liked on that single album.
And there's also, what's that one song he told me? Oh, Promises, Promises by Naked Eyes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes I feel. There's a different one.
that's a different one. But I mean,
Yeah.
we said Duran Duran's another one we can mention too. I mean, Hungry Like the Wolf. I actually do like that song still.
There you go.
And
Yeah, but yeah.
I mean, A View to a Kill is another one.
those, any song they made for movies, gold.
That was.
I don't really do them anymore, and it's not because I don't like them. It's just because I pretty much heard everything, so I'm just like, yeah, okay. But growing up, they were great for me. But yeah, Tainted Love, that whole cover is like, I think that perfectly sums up the 80s. You can do an old, just, old school song and just bring it to life again and make it its own identity to where I was like, yeah, I didn't even know it was an old original song for the longest time.
I also bring up, because I don't want to forget this band, because why would I? Night Ranger was another one.
Yeah.
Not Sister Christian, folks. Okay. I like that song, but that is not the only song from them, like some people think.
No, not at all. Not even close.
It's like, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, Chipping Away, You Can Still Rock in America.
Love Me is definitely played at certain times.
Well, at certain times, but not as much as Sister Christian.
No, Sister Christian gets way overplayed. Fuck it. Play all the other good stuff. They buy them. I'm going to get mocked. I realized this was considered one of the worst songs of all time. Well, I have to say Wikipedia is wrong. We Built This City by Jefferson Starship.
I had a feeling you would. I've never hated that song, to be honest. I never thought it was that bad.
I can't even remotely, and I brought it up to my father one time. He's like, I hated that song, and I brought it up to my uncle. He's like, oh yeah, that's a fun song. It's like, so I think it just depends on the crowd. I think a lot of people, it's nostalgia for other bands crowded them. I think someone just had a bone to pick and just said,
apparently,
I hate that song.
I never thought it was that bad. I'm sorry, folks.
Not even remotely. And it's gonna be around like a record, baby, by Dead or Alive. So.
We also got Heart, we had Never, or These Dreams.
Oh yeah, Dreams is a great one.
Which I didn't realize it was the sister Nancy singing that until later on.
Yeah.
And,
So far away.
and she was sick when she recorded that. To point that out.
She aced it.
I know. Like, I don't even sound that good. I'm sick, but
Man.
but there's, I mean, like I said, we can mention quite a bit of these. Well, I gotta mention this band because I know my brother will kill me if he listens to this. But I mean, Depeche Mode was another one.
Oh yeah, plenty.
That's,
I can't imagine the ages without them either.
I mean,
Very
we got
surreal.
ones like Strange Love, which is
Yeah.
should have been played in a sci-fi movie, honestly, 'cause that's what it sounds like.
Oh yeah, I think most of their songs, especially when you get to their 2005 album, could totally be played in a cyberpunkish, post-apocalyptic.
Like, it would be perfect for those. And of course, I also, since we're mentioning all the popular ones, I mean, Build an Idol was another one I grew up on. I still do, actually.
He made it cool to dance with himself, yeah.
And I mean,
White Wedding, yes please.
White Wedding, Rebel Yell. Like, why wouldn't I?
When the
mention
rebel
that?
yell, yeah, more,
I mean,
more.
Come on now. Oh, I can also mention We Can't Stop the Fire by Billy Joel. That's actually one of my favorites.
Yes, Billy Joel. There's definitely some Elton John for this period that's good. We can talk about Paul McCartney and Wings for sure. And I mean, overall, this is where the 80s is really crafting into. I mean, there's a reason this is like the most requested music from each decade. It's just there's something about it that just, you want some rock songs. There's going to be some for that in the metal crowd. I mean, and definitely, the pop songs definitely inspire a lot of today's pop artists. So, I mean, you're going to get that. And yeah, the electronic new wave is just very startling. Well, hell, how about I bring up Head Like a Hole by Nine Inch Nails? Yes, from their debut album.
Oh, it's true.
The Hate Machine, yeah. It's like that was a good just example of how the darkness that we're going to see from them in the future.
We also have like the more mainstream ones. You got Kickstart My Heart, which of course
Motley
we love
Crue.
to play. which I'm not complaining. I love that song, even when it's used in certain movies. Um, I mean, I could go, and I know I'll get made fun of with this band because I know they'll always talk about with the hail metal, that's what they call it, right time. But I actually have kind of grown into like Cinderella once
Mm,
deep
yeah.
into when you actually go deep into the catalog when it's not just the hits that you know. And
Yeah.
it's actually very interesting to listen to some of that stuff.
I thought so.
Even the ballad that they're famous for, I actually don't mind. It's one of the few ballads that is not that corny, at least in my opinion.
Free Willin', War Stories, Fire and Ice. Yeah. Cinderella rocks.
And you got, I mean, hell, you can also say Angel of the City. I should point that out too,
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
because thanks to
Robert
Copa, that's how I heard that song.
Robert Tapper or whatever. Yeah. I mean, say what you want. I mean, that album sucks, but that song, that I've always wanted to see a bunch of music videos released for it.
I'm surprised they didn't. If they did, I probably didn't see that video.
It should totally be
Yeah.
included in every other vigilante or action movie tribute. I'm like, yeah, I if I ever get the sense to make one, I will totally do that because I miss when YouTube was a fun paradise where anyone could make any kind of video, and then I think everyone just lost interest when they realized they weren't able to really make any money or get any attention or views, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah, that's the sad part.
Google ruined it for everything. And so now it's like if you're watching any custom music video, it's often still from like 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty sad. But I can see some fanfare. I've seen people even make video game music videos more recently with that song. So I'm like, yeah, someone out there really likes it.
And
Angel of the City.
there's actually there's a few more I can mention real quick.
Sure.
There's two supergroups I should point out that I've enjoyed. The Power Station was one. I'm
Are we
sure
talking about the Commando in score? Are you?
that's one. That's one of the songs. But their version of Get It On, Bang a Gong, I've always loved that version.
That
this
gets
day.
played quite a lot. Yeah.
It does.
Get it
But
on.
I actually prefer it over the original. Don't kill me, folks. Oh God, why?
Executed. Count Scarface style there. Jesus.
Might as well.
My house has been burning for centuries.
I also mentioned The Firm was another one I figured I'd bring up, which was Paul Rogers and Jimmy Page together
Okay.
in one band. It was,
Jimmy Page, baby.
oh yeah, like my dad's the one that actually introduced me to that because he saw them live when they were actually together at one point. It wasn't for very long, but it's definitely an interesting collaboration with those two. I mean, those two. Another obscure one I'll mention was, now I'll explain who this is. Wilfred St. Holmes was an artist that had a song called Sharpshooter, and it's the rhythm guitarist from Aerosmith, Brad Whitford, and the guitarist and singer for Ted Nugent, Derek St. Holmes, collaborating together. Yes, I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And St. Holmes is the one who sings on Stranglehold that you hear a lot in a lot of movies.
This play in the movie. So this played in that Italian movie Sharpshooter.
I'm surprised it didn't, but they no, they actually had some great stuff on that one album they did in the 80s, and unfortunately didn't get any radio play because, well, no one knew who they were, to be honest.
Was it too long?
No, it wasn't too long, honestly. But I guess it just got lost in the shuffle with all the other acts.
Nice.
Getting the airplay, the radio play, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
at that time. I figured I'd point them out. Well, speaking of another Aerosmith one, the Joe Perry project. I should point out, folks.
Mm.
He had his own project, but he had 3 different singers on 3 albums. I should point out. There's a whole backstory on that, which is
I bet.
fascinating. But well, the first singer, he was like a raging alcoholic, and that's why you had to fire him. Then the second singer, I actually forgot what happened to him. I think something happened. And then the third one, who I think is the worst of the 3, but that's a different story. But that first 2 albums, I've gone back to quite a bit. In particular, the first album, which has a song that Joe Perry sings himself
Shit.
called Shooting Star, and that was certainly interesting to hear because he never really got that chance in Aerosmith until the last album that just came out. But speaking of Aerosmith, I figured I'd mention them right now because speaking of the album that they did without Joe Perry, the only one they've done without Joe Perry, which was Rockin' the Hard Place, and the song I mentioned.
That's a good one.
I know, I mean, people mention Lightning Strikes, but I'll mention 3 songs off that right off the bat. Jailbait, Bitches Brew, which is totally a Halloween song, which I play every year now. I'm not even kidding.
That's a
And
good one.
I also have Push Comes to Shove, which is the last song on the album, which kind of harkens back to the stuff in the late 70s, to the smoother sound. And I gotta also mention Done with Mirrors, which has Let the Music Do the Talking from Joe Perry's other project,
Damn.
which is funny about it. But that has some great stuff on there. And of course, we know about Permanent Vacation and Pump. That's the 2 albums a lot of people know. But I'm
Man.
like, there's great stuff on there too, folks. Not just the hits, just to point out. Because I know y'all say Dude Likes Like a Lady and Junior's Got a Gun. I know that.
And
Okay.
no relation to Steve Perry. That's a different awesome dude who also had a cool solo career.
That's true. I was going to mention that also. But like I said, there's so many to mention. Oh, well, I don't want to forget these other 2 real quick. The one artist that I actually discovered recently was Scandal, or Patti Smythe, the singer. I've become a huge fan of hers over the years. And
I got them mixed up all the time with Frida and Belinda Carlos Slay, but
yeah,
those guys are
I
good
do
in their
too.
own right. Even Pat Benatar's cool, but it's like, Scandal, pretty edgy, pretty
Oh yeah,
underappreciated.
it's like I didn't realize some of the songs were them. Like Goodbye to You, I did not know it was them until later on. And The Warrior was another one.
Yeah,
You know, that video was terrible.
well, I'm sure it is, but
But
it's part
you
of
know,
the fun of 80s music. Is like, well, it was cool at the time.
I mean, that happens, folks. I mean, what can you do? Although, to be honest, I'd rather watch that than some of the videos they try to make now. But at least I could
the
say
Neil
it's
Lauper's
charming.
videos were really both charming and cheesy, but it's like, well, I still like her songs. So there you go.
Some of our songs, I say, not all of them, but
No,
different story.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun gets so overplayed.
Which one?
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No, my favorite of hers was Time After Time. That's the one
Yes,
I've always gone to.
totally.
I mean, I can mention that, and well, I might as well, because
One more.
since his first album, I figured I'd go Let Love Rule by Lenny Kravitz, because that was '89 when that came out.
Rabbits is cool. I mean, might as well incorporate him in there. Yeah.
I might as well. I mean, of course, I'll mention him when we get to the '90s, because there's quite a few of theirs from him that I can mention. Same thing with Billy Squire, of course, getting ahead of myself. And
Nice.
I mean, there's so many I can name. I always go back to each time. It's like, I'm sorry, folks, but there's a reason why I always go back and listen to the stuff from this decade, or then when we get to the 90s, is that at least for one, their production is actually well done, you know, and they didn't have auto tune, thank God,
Right.
honestly,
None of that.
which when we get to that, that's just gonna be torture for me. Um, I'm sorry, folks. I'm just gonna put this out now. I'm not into autotune. I've never been. I don't get it. That's just my preference. You can like it
Sure.
all you want. I don't get it. But this, I know there are certain songs that sound the same, and I will admit that. I kind of refuse to admit that for years, but it doesn't always come across. And I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what else we could say about
If you didn't
this
get that
decade.
impression, then you didn't. So,
I mean,
agreed.
I said before, this is one of those decades that you could go through all different kinds of genres and find something to like.
Yeah.
And like, I hope people do get that chance and not just listen to the hits, listen to whole albums. Don't just listen to the hits, folks. I hate to break it to you, but they don't want to do that. That's the sad part. Like, only the hits. I'm like, no, listen to the whole albums. Like, at least try, but you know, people are nowadays. Nope, attention span of few seconds. Nope. Okay, I'm not gonna try. I tried that enough, and I'm just not gonna bother. That's all I can say, because this is just one of those decades that I think will still hold up even all these years from now, and will continue to hold up. That's all I have to say.
Totally.
I know I spoke for a long time, but I figured I
Yeah, that's a good way
mention
to.
that.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We may talk about video games, music. Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers, the Google Play, Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair say all that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Don't run the listeners away, PJ.
I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this movie.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be a
could you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our queue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. Whether one life's plot holes or gratuitous movies, it's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zemenov. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zemenov, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zemenov, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zemenov.
Hi everybody, it's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything. Pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VD Clinic Pod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VD Clinic Pod, or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
Hi there. It's Heather from the Watching Netflix Without You podcast. Did you know that there are over 1,200 Netflix original feature films and documentaries? And that number is only growing. So I've made it my mission to watch as many as I possibly can. Then, with a delightful guest or guests, disclaimer, more often than not my brother Ryan, we spend an episode rating, reviewing, and discussing a film at length. The first half of every episode is spoiler-free for those who haven't seen it yet, and in the second half, after a very clear spoiler warning, we dive into it. And that's really about it. You can listen to Watching Netflix Without You on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more.
We now continue with our program.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up